John Pesutto, welcome to 7:30.
Thanks, Sarah.
Moira Deeming has walked back her condemnation of the rally and its organiser. Will you move again to expel her from the Liberal Party?
Well, thanks, Sarah. What I would say, if I just take our viewers just back a step, I brought this motion last Sunday because I was very concerned that certain types of conduct by people associated with Moira Deeming in the conduct of that rally was totally unacceptable. And I wanted a condemnation of that. Now, despite the passage of last week, we didn't get from Moira until very early this morning specific condemnation of that, followed by what was, in essence, a very tough and emotional party room
John,
meeting, followed by...
I'm going to have to jump in there. I appreciate what you're taking us through a series of events, but they have changed this evening. Moira Deeming published a tweet just a couple of hours ago in talking to the organiser of the rally, and this is someone with very clear, for our audience, very clear far-right associations, many of which you detailed in the dossier that you presented to your own party room. She said, speaking directly to that person, "Don't worry, I never condemned you." So I just want to ask you again, that is Moira Deeming walking back her condemnation, which is also supported in the statement she made this evening. Will you move to expel her from your party?
What I was going to say, Sarah, and I understand the point and I understand the issue, what I was going to say was there were a number of things which occurred today which, when put to the party room, were believed by the party room and me. On that basis, I had proposed the suspension, a 9-month suspension plus the loss of the whip's roll. If, as I've seen this evening, there are comments on social media that are inconsistent with that, what I would say is that is a matter that Moira would have to take very seriously, because there would be repercussions about that. So the party room will be looking very closely, all of us who believed what was put to the party room, and I'd like to think they'd be upheld. But if there is some discrepancy, as you're suggesting, if that's the case, and there's anything less than the faithful observance of what was put to the party room and what was unanimously agreed to, then that would have serious consequences, absolutely.
Let's be very clear about what those consequences were. If these statements that are, as I say, she has said that she does not condemn the organiser of a rally, a woman with neo-Nazi and far-right associations. She's also underplayed her acceptance of being wrong in attending the rally, using the words, "It may have been an error of judgment." Failing to condemn the organiser of the rally was central to the reasons that you put forward for having her expelled from the party. So to be clear, does Moira Deeming have a place in the Victorian Liberal Party tonight?
Well, she doesn't sit in the Victorian Liberal Parliamentary Party because, as a result of the steps I've taken, she's been suspended. So that's the first thing I need to make clear to our viewers. She's not a member of the Liberal Parliamentary Party. As to whether she can come back in, if there is anything less than the utmost and most faithful observance of the terms of today's party room meeting, then that will be a serious matter. I don't want to preempt that decision by the party room, but every member of that party room, myself included, would expect Moira to observe what was arrived at today. Absolutely.
I just want to be clear for the audience what we're talking about here, for anyone who hasn't followed this closely. You produced, as I mentioned earlier, a dossier of the organiser of the rally that details her associations. And they include a particular image that she posted, and we're going to run that now so we're very clear what we're talking about. It is the pride flag overlaid with a swastika and includes the words Pride Starpo. You say that Moira Deeming organised, promoted and attended that rally. Why would that person retain Liberal Party membership?
Okay, Sarah, there are two things we might be at cross purposes about. I have, with my colleagues, the power to expel or suspend a member from the Liberal Parliamentary Party. I don't have any powers beyond that. That's a matter for the broader organisation in terms of Liberal Party membership.
Yes, but you've chosen, I think you've chosen a path of suspension, and I think the evidence that's being presented to you tonight is of someone who has walked back from whatever regret she expressed in the party room today. So my question is whether that suspension is still the correct response, given what we've seen this evening.
Well, what I would say, Sarah, and I understand the fairness of the question, it would be a process we work through. I can say categorically that if the party room, when it does reconsider this matter, as it will need to during the course of the next 9 months, if it sees evidence that there's a difference between what we were assured in written and oral presentations to the party room and what is being posted on social media, then yeah, there will be consequences with that.
We saw what happened in New South Wales at the weekend. Is having Moira Deeming and other candidates like Moira Deeming attached to the Liberal Party, candidates for the Liberal Party, is she, let's just start with her, is she a liability to the Victorian Labor Party?
Well, I think you mean the Liberal Party, do you, Sarah? I think the issue is it's a suspension, and I think that was appropriate, and the party room agreed with me unanimously. What I will say, Sarah, as a broader point for our viewers, is that as a new opposition leader in Victoria, I am determined to make diversity, inclusion, and a welcoming nature in the Liberal Party top priority for us. So anybody who can't live up to that will not be given a platform within the party. And I've made it clear during last week and in the day, this meeting today, that this is very important. This is top priority for me, telling all Victorians that we are there for everybody, no matter what your sexual preference, your racial or ethnic background, your religious views, whatever they are, you have a place in the Liberal Party and we can be a voice for you.
But John Pesutto, last week you said that it was not going to be possible to walk back from the things that she had said and the associations that she had been shown to have. So what's changed since then?
What I'd always sought, Sarah, from the get-go in this matter, as of Sunday week ago, was I wanted a condemnation of the very thing that you highlighted earlier in the package, plus some other things that were cited in the dossier. Now, when that finally came in today, albeit belated, but when it came in today, I was satisfied on the basis of that material that Moira had got the seriousness of attacking this. And when I say attacking, calling it out, right? And not letting it sit there. What may have happened later this evening, I'll review along with my colleagues. But it's really important to stress for all Victorians that I'm simply not going to allow any kind of material like the material you posted before, put up on the screen before, to ever be accepted. It is just not acceptable. The Nazis on the steps of our great parliament was not acceptable. We have to call it out, and I want to assure Victorians that under my leadership we will.
So to be clear, Moira Deeming's position, whether it's suspension or expulsion, remains in the balance tonight.
I think Moira will have to prove herself over the next 9 months, and if it is the case that...
I'm sorry, John Pesutto, I'm just going to have to jump in. Why does someone who has had these associations that you detailed in your dossier, why do they have 9 months to come back and show a different face?
Okay, so as a result of what was a very difficult and emotional meeting for a lot of members, I formed the view that given that Moira belatedly, but nevertheless had condemned the conduct which was cited in the dossier, I felt that a substantial suspension was appropriate. She is also going to lose the whip's position, but more importantly, can I make this broad point too? What do we want people to do when it comes to diversity and inclusion? We want their views to evolve to the point where they can accept that diversity is something to be embraced and celebrated. That's what I want as the new Liberal leader, that inclusion, diversity, differences in background are not something to be weary of, but something to be celebrated. And I think on the basis of what Moira told the party room in written form and in oral form, she gets that.
John Pesutto, thank you very much indeed for joining us this evening.
My pleasure.